I just felt like I had hit rock bottom financially. I literally had $1 in my account. And I decided I was going to go to the library because I wanted to know about financial literacy. I wanted to know how do I better my situation. Hi, I'm Natalie Mullen, former people pleaser and queen of doing way too much, turned holistic life coach and wellness educator for purpose seeking women of color and allies. Welcome to From a Full Cup. On this podcast, I teach you how to use the 12 pillars of wellness to discover your purpose, uplevel your well-being, and create the life of your dreams, because we all deserve to be fulfilled, and you simply can't pour from an empty cup. Through candid conversations, insightful interviews, and motivational nuggets, you'll feel inspired, empowered, and supported as together we navigate this thing called life, holistically and with your well-being at the center. If you're committed to personal development and you're ready for more, you're in the right place. Now let's get started. Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of From a Full Cup, a space to learn, grow, and uplevel your well-being. If you're new here, each month is rooted in one of the 12 pillars of holistic wellness, and all 12 of these pillars are interconnected. Once you understand these pillars, then you know how to create more balance and fulfillment in your own life as you work to create your own version of a wealthy life. Last month was focused on the career pillar. We covered topics like entrepreneurship, side hustles and 9 to 5s, finding your purpose and passion, career advancement and tips for job seekers, and how to create your own path as a multifaceted individual. This month, we're diving into the finances pillar. And though all 12 pillars are interconnected, I just feel like finances is a really big one that a lot of people struggle with. And I'm sure if you're listening, you'd probably agree. Now, before we get into today's topic, let's just do a wellness check, okay? A time to just check in with yourself and acknowledge, how are you doing? Really? Let's just pause and reflect. I want you to rate yourself from 1 to 10. How are you feeling in this current moment? Let me ask you, how did you fill your cup today? And what did you do today that contributed to your wealthy life? If you're new here, we promote living a wealthy life, WELLTHY, where you can define success based on your wellness and what makes you happy. Because you can have all the money and accolades in the world, but if you aren't fulfilled, joyful, and in alignment, then what's the point? So, as I mentioned, the theme for this month is finances. And it's the third pillar I'm covering because the relationship that people have with finances and with money, it goes deep. Divorce, breakup, stress, anxiety, depression, home loss, fighting, all of this happens because of poor financial health. And our money stories are formed from childhood. The things that we observe in our homes growing up, how we see our loved ones interact with money, their attitudes and beliefs towards money, and the overall emotions associated with money. So, if you grew up with a lot of money and you've always had a positive relationship with money, this episode may not be of much value to you. But if you've had a turbulent or negative or, even mediocre relationship with money in the past, and you're looking to improve your finances, well, I hope that this month's episode is really going to help you to elevate your financial literacy and just empower you to make decisions in this area of your life. So, if you heard my mindset episode, you'll know that I already talked quite a bit about my money story. And I really probably should have saved it for this episode, but it's okay. So if you haven't listened to that episode, pause, go listen to it, and come back. So this one will make a little bit more sense. Money is complicated and emotional for a lot of people. And we all have money stories. And to be honest, our money stories aren't easy. I want you to think back. What's the first memory that you have of money? One that stands out to you, one that gives you an emotional charge. It's probably not my first memory, but a memory that I have from when I was a child was when my dad got laid off. And I remember my parents were worried about how the bills were going to get paid. And I remember at that time, layoffs were pretty rare, or at least rare from my experience. What did I know as a child? But it didn't seem like it happened that much. So I just felt like everybody else around was making quite a big deal about the layoff as well. And At that time, I just really learned how stressful finances can be and how it can really take a toll not just on one person, but on the entire family. Now, growing up, my family never really had a lot of money. In fact, I felt like we struggled. My parents did the best that they could. I have vivid memories of shopping at Goodwill and Value Village and just getting secondhand clothes. And I never really liked that feeling. Sometimes I recall getting made fun of at school just because I never had, Nike shoes, name brand clothing, anything like that. When I became a teenager, things kind of leveled out, especially as I started making my own money and I was able to buy, the things that I needed. Then things got a little tough again in university because, I mean, if you're a university student, usually the struggle is real. And at that point, I was not asking my parents to support me at all. So I paid my tuition, I paid my textbooks, I paid if I was traveling, if I was going out, if I was eating out, whatever those expenses were, they were all on me. Now, looking back, I can definitely say that the biggest mistake that I made was not investing at a young age. And what's funny is I actually did invest at a young age. I had an RSP account probably at the age of 18 or maybe even 16, one of those two numbers. And so it was pretty good. But I decided to cash it out after university because I wanted the money. And honestly, it was not a lot of money. I think it was like $3,000 or $4,000 at the most. And then I had to pay a penalty and I was so sad about that too. But at that time that seemed like a lot of money to me. And I really regret that because that money could have just sat in the account and grown even if I didn't contribute anything further. And as a young adult, my money went up and it went down, and I started, different businesses. And entrepreneurship has this really interesting way of making you money, but also sucking you dry at the same time, especially at the beginning. And if you're an entrepreneur, you're probably shaking your head and know exactly what I'm talking about. So I just felt like I was kind of going in circles. I'd save money, then I'd spend it, then I'd save money, then I'd spend it. I'd pay off the credit card, then all of a sudden these numbers appeared again, then I pay it off, and then more numbers again. But something happened when I decided to close my business, and then I didn't have a job for a few months. I just felt like I had hit rock bottom financially. I really did. I literally had like $1 in my account. And I decided I was going to go to the library because I wanted to know about financial literacy. I wanted to know how do I better my situation. And went to the library and I read at least 20 different personal finance books. Every single book that they had that I thought was of vague interest to me, I read. And I made notes and I really tried to make changes right away of what are the things I can do to help me get to the next level. Now, I'll pause for a second and say it's not like I'm a financial literacy expert or anything like that. And I'm still working on my own finances, but I've definitely learned a lot along the way. And my biggest accomplishment personally regarding finances was just learning about investing and the stock market. So I made some huge mistakes. You heard a bit about it in my past mindset episode, and you'll hear about it again in an upcoming episode with Hadriana. But you know what? They say what doesn't kill you only makes you stronger. So here we are. And this year, again, I'm just excited to jump back in full throttle with my finances. Really, I started from last year, but this year I've just taken it up a notch. So I joined a financial accountability group. I set up automatic transfers. I have them going to a travel fund, a savings account, and multiple different investments accounts. Okay, enough about me. Let's get into this. Money and careers are closely connected. So this is why these two pillars were done back to back. Does your career pay you a salary or a wage that allows you to meet your basic needs like food, housing, clothing, and transportation? And if it does allow you to make your basic needs, does it allow you to enjoy your life? Can you do things that bring you joy and fulfillment? Can you help others? Can you donate? Can you eat out? Can you buy video games? Can you travel? Whatever it is that you enjoy in life. Does the money you earn allow you to do such things? Now, the last 2 years, I think, have really taken a toll on people just across the globe due to inflation and high interest rates, and most people are feeling it one way or the other. According to the American Psychological Association, money is actually the top cause of stress in the United States. And in a recent survey, 1 in 3 Canadians reported having financial stress that was leading to anxiety, depression, or mental health challenges. So, money and finances really does play big impact on our well-being. And there's several different challenges. So, the first one I would say is all about financial literacy. People simply don't understand how money works. They don't know how to keep it and they don't know how to increase it. So, there's no plan for their finances and they don't have the education and the knowledge of how to navigate money circumstances and basically how to leverage financial opportunities for your benefit. Some people don't know their credit score. They might not know their credit card interest rate. They might not know different investment terms, things like that. And statistically speaking, women actually score lower than men on financial literacy assessments. So it's really important that women who are listening, make sure you get your financial literacy in order. Another one of the challenges is really around financial shame. Like, let me tell you, some people are in a lot of debt or they've lost a lot of money in gambling or maybe in stocks or in some kind of investment that's gone bust, or maybe they were trying to start a business or they had an opportunity because there's always a friend with an opportunity. Usually that doesn't work out well, right? And so that shame leads to people not even wanting to open their bank accounts. They just like ignore the reality of their financial situation. And for others, the shame is deep because that's just how they grew up. They grew up poor. Everyone around them is poor. Everyone around them is struggling, and they just kind of grown up in that life and are still in that life to this day. And then another challenge is regarding spending habits. So maybe you have some money, but you just spend recklessly. Like, it might be like you say to yourself, well, I deserve this, or it makes me happy. And you just swipe, swipe, swipe with your eyes closed. You're not really paying attention to the balance, or you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. Your credit card stays on repeat, and there's just no control over the spending. And it's funny because I actually remember one of my friends, a really good friend of mine, when we were younger, he had this rule. And this friend was doing very well. Okay. He was doing very well for himself financially, but he had this rule where he would give himself a financial budget every paycheck. So, as an example, let's just say the budget was $500. When he reached that $500 limit, he said he was broke and that he had no more money and that he would have to wait until the next paycheck to spend again. Now, even though he was saying he was broke, I mean, his bank account was well sorted out. He had lots of money in there. But in his mind, once he was done with his spending allocation, he was done. So he was really disciplined in that. And I always remember that and admired that. Another financial challenge that people go through is just like lack of financial opportunity. And usually this is because of a lack of opportunity for income and career advancement. So if you are relying on money from your income, which most people do, and if you're not in a job that's paying you enough for you to live comfortably, then you're kind of missing out. Another challenge is just like people don't have a financial leg up. And I don't think this gets talked enough about, but a lot of people gain wealth through their families. So maybe through inheritances from grandparents or aunts or uncles, or big cash donations from family members, financial contributions from parents, loans without interest, those kinds of things. And it's really a privilege, but a lot of times people don't talk about it. So they'll say, oh, I worked hard to get here. And it's like, okay, cool. But you also had this help from your parents. You also had this inheritance. You also had this interest free loan. So, or you also had your parents cover you for a bit, right? So it's just important to acknowledge that because not everybody has those opportunities. And it really does give you a huge leg up. Even things like very big wedding gifts or a big down payment towards a home, like that can really start you off on a journey towards financial wealth that other people simply wouldn't be able to do on their own. And the last challenge I'll talk about is just financial struggle in general, like struggle to meet even your basic needs, struggling to meet your food, your housing, transportation, clothing, right? So if you can't even do that, of course, life is going to be so stressful. And the first thing you need to do is try to figure out how can you meet your basic needs, right? Because there's going to be a lot of stress until you can figure that part out. But we're always in a place where we can learn and grow. And so if you're listening to this episode, you're in the right place. Now, when we think of what are the limiting beliefs that hold us back from reaching our full potential with finances or even improving our relationship with finances, there are so many limiting beliefs that happen around money. So I'm just going to choose three. But one is that I never have enough money. And when people say this, it's almost like they're speaking it into existence. It's like they're perpetuating a state and a feeling that they have currently. And so, what you have to do is reframe this and say, money is always there for me and I deserve to have it. And hear me out because when it comes to money, again, money is a very emotional topic. And so, I know somebody's probably rolling their eyes at me right now and being like, yeah, that's not true. And trust me, I've had to do a lot of mindset work in relation to money as well. But the first step, even if you don't believe it, is just start speaking a different reality and eventually your mindset will shift. The next limiting belief is I'm broke. Now, let me tell you, a lot of people say this. And I remember when I was younger, I heard a pastor and he said, you shouldn't say you're broke. He said that he would tell people he's having a temporary cash flow challenge. And what I liked about that is he said the word temporary. So he was not admitting broke as a final state of being, right? So again, we have to just reframe and say, how can we think about it? Money is always coming to me, or money is replenishable, money is there, money is abundant, right? Things like that will really help us reframe. And there's a lot of things all over social media about this. So you can just do a search if you're looking for money affirmations and just money reframes that are going to help you shift your mindset. And the last one, this is one that often is told to children, is like money doesn't grow on trees, right? Like you always hear your parents saying that, and it comes from a good place. They're trying to tell you to be responsible with your money. But what that does is subconsciously it makes you think that money is limited, right? But again, you have to tell yourself money is out there, it's abundant, it's replenishable, it's always renewing itself, and it's available for you. So now I want to take a moment to just focus on disruptive wellness, which is the intentional choice to push back on the status quo and society's narrative of what success looks like for you, and just redefine it based on your version of a wealthy life. And so I want you to ask yourself, does your current financial situation reflect a wealthy life? And do you feel content when you look at your bank account, or do you feel stress? And what can you do to align your finances with your desired feelings and way of life? As always, I want to offer some strategies that would be a good first step to getting a hold of your finances. But make sure you tune in this month because we have some great interviews coming up with some really good tips that can just help you move forward. The first step that I would suggest, and this really is thinking about finances from a wellness perspective, is that you have to heal your relationship with money. If you have a really negative money story, if there's a lot of fear and shame and guilt around your relationship with money and finances, you have to heal from this because it's going to be really hard to move forward if you don't. There's some people who actually have a lot of money, but they're still scared to lose it because that was their experience when they're younger. It's not healthy to walk around with fear, right? It debilitates you. So work on healing your relationship with money. You'll hear later in another episode with Hey Gianna, which was my financial coach that had to help me with this. The second strategy is to know your worth. So, a lot of people are working at jobs that are underpaying you. Okay. And if that's the case, listen, do what makes you happy. But if you're not happy with that income, you have two options. One, you can strategically plan for a promotion, or you can start job searching. Or two, you can find other ways to bring in income. So this might be starting your own business or starting a side hustle, investing, just other ways that you can increase the money that's coming in so that you feel more financially comfortable and can spend money on things that are going to improve your quality of life. The third strategy is that money is a family lesson. It's really important to talk with people about money. Talk with your kids, your parents, significant others, your friends. We need to open up the conversation about money, especially if you come from a racialized background. A lot of Black people, they don't want to talk about money, they don't want to get into finances. And because of that, there's a lot of secrecy and shame, but there's also a lot of abuse and there's a lot of mismanagement and a lot of harm that happens. So, if we can be more transparent from the very beginning, we can try to prevent some of these things from happening. And we can also educate ourselves and become more aware and more confident in discussing topics of money. And, a lot of times I will say, a lot of times when people talk about money, they talk about how much they don't have, right? They'll talk about, oh, life is hard. This is expensive. I can't afford it. Let's shift the conversation. Let's talk about possibilities. Let's talk about generating wealth. Let's talk about how we can create more of it, how we can multiply our money, how we can level up, how we can create generational wealth. Like these are the conversations that you want to position yourself to have. The fourth strategy is about investing. I think this is the number one thing that you can do to change your financial situation long term. Start simple, okay? Just make it automatic and make it recurring. And find an index fund or an ETF that tracks the S&P 500 and deposit your money and rinse and repeat. Don't touch it, don't withdraw, just keep adding and come back in 20 years. And that is something that's very easy to do. A lot of people feel intimidated by the stock market. They think they need a financial advisor or a broker. You can go on and do it yourself. And if you feel uncomfortable but you want to start, just ask somebody that you know who's doing it or find a financial coach or a financial advisor who can help you. But find one that's going to teach you what to do, not one that you have to keep paying over and over to do it for you. Because I promise you, it is not hard to buy stocks. Every single bank account allows you to do it. So just start purchasing. And, if you decide that you want to learn more about investing after that, then so be it. But if not, just do this simple task at the bare minimum. And the last one is going to be to spend consciously towards your wealthy life. I think a lot of times, especially as children, you hear, oh, you have to save your money, don't spend. And it's like you save your money, but then it's not growing, right? It's just you don't know how to leverage it. And that's because a lot of our parents, they didn't have that financial literacy. Now, some parents did, and I see the difference. Like you can just usually tell whose parents were really financially strong and were able to help their children have that same knowledge and then whose weren't. Now, when you spend money on things that bring you joy and fulfillment. Like don't waste it, right? Like don't buy food that you're not going to enjoy. Don't go blow it out for a night of drinking if you're going to be sick in the morning and regret it, right? But if you like to travel, go spend your money on travel and do it. If you like good food, go to a great restaurant and really enjoy your meal. If you love to play video games, go buy it and have fun playing it, right? Like spend the money. If you like to hang out with people, spend the money on things that are going to truly make you happy, not just like you wake up the next day and you're like, oh man, why did I do that? Spend with a plan. So for today's call to action, it's a journal prompt, and I want you to write about this. What emotions or beliefs do you associate with money, and how do they impact your financial decision making process? And I'll give you a bonus one, which is to really investigate what is the relationship that you have with money based on how you grew up and based on what you observed in your family. Now, those questions will be in the show notes, so feel free to look at them. All right, let's talk about the pillar check. What are the other pillars that are being impacted by your finances? Because we know that wellness is holistic and that everything's interconnected. So, as an example, if you feel constantly stressed and that you don't have enough money, then this is directly connected to the career pillar because your income doesn't allow you to live comfortably. Or maybe you have fights with a significant other or with your family or parents. Maybe you have to lend them money, they're borrowing money from you, money's being mismanaged, and there's poor spending habits. Well, your relationship pillar is being impacted. Or maybe you're not able to afford fresh, healthy food. So you're eating a lot of processed food and packaged food. Well, this directly impacts your food and body pillars. If money keeps you up late at night, you can't sleep, and you feel stress and anxiety and depression, this is impacting your mindset pillar. If you want to get a breakdown on all the 12 wellness pillars and find out how you score, you can download the free assessment in the show notes. And if you want to talk through your results after, send me an email. I would be happy to chat with you, and we can even hop on a call. For today's affirmation, I invite you to say it with me. I release all fears and doubts surrounding money, knowing that I am fully supported by the universe. Now, if you felt money shame, I don't want you to feel bad, okay? If you're in debt, if you don't know the financial terms or you just spend a lot, it doesn't matter. There is no judgment here. Just listening to this episode is a great first step. Listen to it again and share it with somebody else, okay? There's going to be some really great episodes this month that will really empower you to just take your financial relationship to the next level. And it doesn't matter where you start. It's just what's the direction you're headed in? Are you improving? Are you getting better? I'd also encourage you go to the library or even use your library card online and just sign up for some audible books, sign up for some audiobooks or, go get the physical books and just start to learn more about personal financing. And just start to learn more about personal finances. You can also start following financial content creators. I will link a few of them in the show notes, and they're all great. I recommend them. They will just open your mind to a whole world of possibilities. And I'll give a special shout out to Rennie because I'm in Rennie's financial accountability group, and I've learned a lot of financial gems from Rennie. So I really appreciate her podcast. It's called Don't Grow Broke Trying, and just the content that she puts out on her page, which is called Rennie the Resource. In closing, remember you can always change your financial situation. The first thing that you need to do is educate yourself. Knowledge is power. If you enjoyed this episode, I'll ask you to share it with somebody that you think can benefit from it. And if you would love to leave a review on Apple Podcasts, that would be greatly appreciated. And if you can leave a 5-star rating on Spotify, I would appreciate that as well. Till next time, continue to serve yourself, your loved ones, and your community from a full cup.